Hi, everyone. My name is G. Solorzano. I am with the Mental Health Alliance at North Carolina State University. And today I am with 4 incoming graduate students. They're incoming into the sociology Ph.D. department at our university. And we're going to have a conversation of what that experience has looked like for them. It is an unprecedented experience coming in and starting something as monumental as a graduate program amidst a pandemic is, it's just not something that we know how to do. We were prepared to do. There's not a manual on how to go about it the correct way. So we're going to have a conversation and share their perspective on what that has looked like, what they have learned through that process. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you all. If you can introduce yourselves, your name, your pronouns, and what brought you to North Carolina State University.
Okay, I'll go. Hi, I'm Brandon. My pronouns are he, him, his. So State obviously has great faculty and great research opportunities. But part of why I'm here is I did my undergrad at UNC and I moved away from North Carolina. And I very much miss this place. Coming back feels sort of like returning to home.
Thanks, Brandon.
So I'm Dominique. My pronouns are she's and hers. And I came to NC State. My undergrad was at Fayetteville State University. And I came to NC State because, like Brandon said, they have great opportunities for my research interests. And and I like the Raleigh area.
So my name is Lena. My pronouns are she, her. And I really liked the idea of coming to NC State because I actually also went to undergrad in the Raleigh area. And I just really enjoyed it here. My family's here. I enjoy being close to my family. So, and also the research opportunities seemed really great. So, yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda, and my pronouns are she, her. Like the 3 of them said, what drew me to NC State was also the research opportunities and how I thought I would fit in with the research that the professors here are already doing. And it seemed like my interests aligned really well. So I thought it would be a good fit for me. Also, my advisor from undergrad, she got her PhD from NC State in sociology. And so NC State kind of became on my radar for that reason. And then so I decided to apply and here I am.
That's a really neat fact that your advisor also went to NC State, the same program, I imagine a few years back. So we'll go ahead and we'll kick off the conversation. So what has starting a graduate program in the middle of a pandemic looked like for you all? What were you like, holy crap, this is really difficult, or what was really easy amidst that experience?
So I think the first thing that we're probably all dealing with is Zoom fatigue. We spend a lot of time in our Zoom session classes, going to Zoom University as it is. And I just get so tired by the end of the day. Tired of looking at screens, tired of having to unmute myself to talk. So that's been difficult.
I think starting graduate school, I think even because I'm coming straight from undergrad, this year I had a totally different expectation of how things were going to be. And I kind of had to grieve about the fact that this year wasn't going to be that expectation. I didn't get to walk across the stage, I didn't get to meet up with my cohort and we go to the bars or something or go out to eat. And that was kind of difficult. And then one thing that hits me was now living alone after being on a campus with hundreds, thousands of people every day. And being on campus, I have a lack of routine now, and that really bothers me. I realize I need routine to kind of function, so I've had to like figure out ways to implement routine while just being in like one room.
Thank you for mentioning that, because until you said that, I had not considered that incoming students, or some of them, not everyone, are coming in exactly with what you said, you know, with some cognitive load of unfinished experiences if they graduated under the pandemic conditions, and then starting a new chapter also under these pandemic conditions where, you know, it almost feels like the experience is a little bit incomplete. So you have like two incomplete side by side. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Dominique, I also really like what you said about, you specifically used the word grieve, which I think is the perfect word. I definitely feel like I've been mourning and grieving the idea of what I thought this would be like. Whenever I imagine grad school, like you said, I imagine, you know, meeting my cohort, going to bars with them, and, you know, even just hanging out, you know, at someone's house and having conversations, whether it be about the program or other things. And you know, all my professors in undergrad were always saying like, oh, the people from my cohort, I'm still best friends with so many of them. And I mean, I still think we're doing a good job at making those connections through group chats and just like talking, getting to know each other. But there's definitely something different when it's like face-to-face interaction. And also just grieving the idea of walking around campus and being in that. One of my favorite things about school and academia as a whole is the type of socializing that's on campus, and seeing your professors when you're walking down the hall and being like, hey, and being able to ask them a question right on the spot rather than having to like schedule a Zoom meeting. Being able to just be in that environment, it also is really good for motivation. I think when you have a set schedule, like, okay, I go to campus at this time, then I can go to the library and work from this time to this time, then I can go get food, then I can go home. Whereas now it's just kind of like this long day with like a couple Zoom things in between, and you're like, there's no structure. So you have to make your own, which is a huge challenge for me.
Yeah. And it almost feels like you get to the end of the day, you're like, what did I do today? Because you're just in the same room in front of a computer. It doesn't feel like you accomplished, you know.
Yeah, I'm even
going
a
to
lot of work. I don't have that. I think I thrive off of that feeling of coming home at the end of the day and being like, whew, what a day, you know, and then like winding down. And now I feel like when I wind down, it's like, what am I even winding down from? I was sitting all day, like, you know.
I barely put on pants, yeah.
Yeah, I've been wearing sweats this whole time. Like,
Amanda, what about you?
Lena, I'm glad you brought that up, just like the campus environment of actually being able to go to campus and see people in your classes, see people walking around, be able to go stop by a professor's office and just say, you know, hey, how's it going? And talk to them about their research, and just simple things like that I think are so easy to take for granted, because, I mean, it seems so normal because you don't think this is going to happen, and you're going to be starting grad school in the middle of a pandemic. So I definitely miss, just being around people. And also I think probably the hardest part for me, like the three of you mentioned, is just not being able to kind of create those like deep connections with the people in my cohort. And I do think we're doing a really good job of staying as connected as we can through Zoom and through GroupMe and things like that. But it does feel like there's something missing. So I think that in-person connection is still, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. So something that came to mind for me as I was listening to you all, knowing that you were coming into this unique situation, did you ever pause and think to yourself, maybe I'll wait until next year. Maybe I'll wait until the pandemic is over before starting a grad program? Did that thought occur to any of you?
I mean, I definitely thought about it because I was living with my cousins and I was supposed to live with them when I started grad program, but that didn't work out. So all of a sudden I had transition, try to find like another place and whatnot. Although I could have stayed online, but I wanted to do it by myself more so. But the thought definitely came into mind. But the thing is, like, this graduate school, it's a long-term commitment, and I don't know how long this pandemic is gonna last. You know, it was supposed to be over by now, you know, a few months ago. So like I can't guarantee anything. So it's just like I'm just gonna go in and try my best.
Yeah. I know for me personally, I didn't consider waiting a year. I did like that they gave us that option because it's obviously different for everybody coming in, and everyone's coming in from different scenarios. But for me, so I took a year off from undergrad. And so I think I was ready to get back into school mode, and to be and I'd been living with my parents. I moved back home to save money. And so for me personally, I was ready to be in a new environment, and be on my own and kind of start that process. And yeah, like Dominique said, you know, I wanted to go ahead and get it started because yeah, like we don't know how long the pandemic is going to last. We don't know when things are going to go back to normal. And so I think, yeah, for me, like I was just, yeah, going to start and do my best and make the best out of it. And yeah, just keep moving forward.
Just keep chugging.
I had a very similar experience. I didn't really consider waiting. I mean, I might have fantasized about it, like, oh, that would maybe be nice. But I also had a gap of about 2 years from when I finished undergrad. And then, so I was already feeling a bit, I don't want to say aimless or purposeless, because that makes it sound like, you know, if you're not in academia, you're just doing nothing. Like, and that's not true. But, you know, the jobs I had in between weren't what I was like passionate about and wanted to be doing. So it was everything felt like a waiting room until grad school. Like, oh, this is just until grad school. So when the pandemic happened, and then I really felt more aimless because I was just sitting at home all the time. And I was like, well, now what? Like, when am I going to be able to work again? So then, you know, getting accepted to a grad program really made me feel like, okay, I'm still going to be at home a lot. Looks like it's going to be, this pandemic doesn't seem like it's going to be ending anytime soon, but at least I'll be, you know, studying something I'm passionate about, expanding my mind, getting to know new people, even if it's just through Zoom. So it actually kind of gave me like something to like hold on to in the middle of all this. So that's been like a bright side to all of it.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Like you need something to kind of ground yourself amidst all sorts of feeling ungrounded for various reasons. Brandon, what about you?
So I did consider it. I came straight from a different grad program, and by the end of last semester, I was just so tired of the online model of education. I was like, do I really want to go through this again? But I started thinking about the timetable and where I wanted to be in so many years, and I wasn't willing to put it on hold.
That's fair. That resonates a lot. So this might be a little bit of a premature question since we're relatively early on in the fall semester, but has something been surprisingly easy about starting the program under these conditions? We know that Zoom, you know, there are a lot of things that haven't been easy, a lot of losses, a lot of grieving, but something that you're like, okay, that wasn't too terrible, and maybe you expected it to be a little bit more difficult under the pandemic.
One thing I know is like if I'm late, if I'm like, oh snap, class starts in 5 minutes, I can just get up and just start pull up my computer and start it up. Whereas if I woke up 10 minutes beforehand, I stay like 20 minutes away from campus. So I'm gonna be like 20 to 30 minutes late to class. So that's one thing I do appreciate is if I don't watch the clock, I still have some time to like make it to class and still get you know, that knowledge and that discussion.
That's a good one.
So because there's not too much else to do, I have plenty of time to read. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, though.
Do you enjoy reading?
I mean, I enjoy the readings, but like, I'd still like to do other things.
Okay, I hear that.
I think one thing that's I've always been someone who's like moved very fast, and I'm a huge like extrovert. And in the past, like sitting alone in silence always felt kind of like horrifying. But I think after being in quarantine and kind of being forced to be okay with like just doing nothing for a while and just, you know, whatever, definitely made a lot of this easier for me, in the sense that, you know, whenever I'd be finished with schoolwork before, it's like, well, now I have to find a cool social thing to do, or now I have to find, like, I should go to the gym, I should, you know, but now it's like, I mean, you know, for the next few hours, I might just sit around and that's fine. And it's really, I can already tell, even though it is kind of premature, I can already tell it's definitely going to help when it comes to burnout. Because I definitely have experience being burnt out or being on the edge of being burnt out a lot in undergrad, because I was just always going.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, for me, kind of going off of Lena, what you just said, I think it has been kind of refreshing in a way that I didn't really expect to have that alone time. Because I'm an extrovert for sure, very social person, and so the thought of like coming into grad school and living alone and not being able to get out and meet people like I usually would, it really freaked me out, and I was really worried about just getting super lonely and just really not enjoying my time. But the transition to living alone, I think, has actually, it's been a lot easier than I thought it would be, and it's actually been really nice to, I mean, have time like to myself and have that quiet time to kind of slow down and relax and things like that.
That what you all just said follows nicely into the next thing I want to talk about. And I'm going to morph these two questions into one. The question being, what have you learned about yourself? And it can just be you as a human or as a graduate student. And this can also be coupled with, what have you learned about what you need for your mental health? So what does that look like for you?
So I've kind of had an opposite situation to what Amanda and Lena were describing. I've always considered myself like the introvert's introvert. Like I could spend plenty of time alone and I would be fine. So when we first started going into lockdown or shelter in place orders or whatever, I was like, I'm going to be okay. This is going to be cool. I can just stay alone, watch Netflix, do whatever I want. And I started to realize that I need a lot more interaction than I originally thought. Like the isolation started to get to me, which was rough when I was living by myself, but now that I have roommates, it's much more manageable.
That resonates so much because I'm also an introvert, and it wasn't until a couple months into the pandemic I was like, maybe I should have made some more friends.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of like both introvert and extrovert. One thing, and I'll like go into, I guess, like mental illness a bit here. Because, you know, I've dealing with like depression, anxiety since like junior high or whatever, middle school. And like I'm getting better and whatnot, and college was like the moment where I just got better. So I don't know, being alone and like in the room, a lot of ways I dealt with it was making sure I go out and you know, hung out with people and stuff. I have to consistently fight not going back into that you know, that mental health space that I you know, that I lived in for so long. Like I have to fight not sleeping all the time, not just like, you know, eating certain unhealthy foods, or like getting in a negative mindset all the time. And that's just been kind of difficult for me. But I'm also learning things. Like I'm also learning more about what type of foods affect, you know, my mindset, and like how when I eat or what I drink, how does that affect the way I feel and whatnot. So I've been keeping notes about that, and I've been because I'm not going out all the time, kind of like distracting myself. I'm actively kind of trying to find solutions to my problems. Like I'm noticing I really do need a routine, and I can make one inside. It's going to be difficult, but I can do it. And also taking note, I can't be too hard on myself because this is a traumatic time. So I just been trying to time for myself, but also making sure I get my homework done on time and in. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I would be willing to bet that that is an experience that resonates with a lot of people. Sometimes within academia, we hesitate to bring up our own mental health struggles and how they affect us. But, you know, if we pull together everything we've been saying, there's no avoiding that this situation out of our control is going to impact how we can function as graduate students. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, Dominique, thank you. Especially also like for being vulnerable with us, because it's not easy to admit, like even what you just said about, you know, distracting yourself too much. That's something I think a lot of people who struggle with anxiety and depression can fall into. It's kind of like either end of the spectrum. You're either completely distracting yourself and like, you know, that's not happening, I'm fine, like I'm just going to do everything I can to not think about it, versus like wallowing in it, which both are good for you at different times, like with a balance. But yeah, I've struggled with terrible anxiety since I was young. That can, you know, it has its ups and downs, and it can be debilitating at times. And, you know, before the pandemic, whenever I felt like an anxious like period like in my life coming up, I would be like, oh no, I'm gonna make all these plans, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna, you know, do all this stuff. And for a little bit it works, but then it's kind of like, when I am alone again, it like all catches up with me and I'm like, no. So then it makes the problem seem worse than it even was to begin with. And I think, yeah, being at home a lot and learning to listen to my body and, you know, okay, have I been wallowing in this or thinking about this to the point where now I need to go do something else so I can feel like a human again? And like being more mindful of when should I distract myself and when should I just do the things I need to do? Like I know
Exactly.
I'm right now,
Yeah.
but I need to do this reading, I need to do this assignment, and I'm gonna do it and it'll distract me and it'll be good for me. Versus right now, I can't do this reading and I can't do this assignment, and I'm going to take the rest of the night off. And, you know, I write down in my planner, tomorrow at this time, I'm going to work on this. So I feel like it's set. But yeah, basically I've really learned that I need so much more alone time and time to reflect than I ever thought. And that I'm really good at distracting myself, which is a good skill, but I've been really working on the skill of, oh, I'm feeling really irritable, I guess that means I need alone time, and actually committing to it, going in my room, closing the door, putting on like, you know, a playlist or something, and whatever I need to do to just like center myself again. And yeah, so realizing that I need alone time has been a huge like like plot twist for me, basically.
Yeah. Basically like everything you just said, and thank you for sharing that as well.
That hits home so much. And I think as graduate students, we have a tendency to be like, no, I have to do this now. I have to do this now. So then we sit in front of a computer unproductively for 3 hours, maybe distracting ourselves, right? And I do also want to acknowledge that as sociologists, a lot of the research that we do, a lot of the articles that we read is heavy, is just heavy. Like it's not just heavy in an academic language sense. It is emotionally heavy to read. But again, because it's academia and academic culture, we get caught up in, I just need to power through, I'm going to do it, I'm going to put on my academic hat and pretend that I don't have feelings. And one of the things that we do within the Mental Health Alliance is step away from that narrative and do exactly what you said, Lena, is say, no, like I cannot do this reading right now. I actually need to go be alone. I need to go decompress. Or maybe it's the opposite, that you do the reading, but then you need to go take care of yourself and kind of debrief and unload that. Because it's not easy to do the work that we do and keep up with it without getting burnt out. So there's a lot of useful tidbits in what you all have been saying.
Did you want to go on to the next question, or I can?
Yeah, if you want to add, if there's anything that you want to add to what we just said, otherwise we'll move forward and because what we just said also pertains to the next topic we're gonna hit.
Okay. Well, I'll add on something real quick, just going off of what both Lena and Dominique were saying, and yeah, thank y'all for just being vulnerable and sharing that, because I definitely, and that's something that like we've discussed in Zoom calls, is that I think people in academia need to be more vulnerable, and we need to talk about our mental health. And so many people have these issues, but no one addresses it, and so it makes people feel like they're alone, when in reality they're not. But yeah, something that I've learned about myself is that, yeah, like I do need alone time, and that it's okay for me to be alone, and I can feel okay being alone. It's like Lena was saying, I've been really good at distracting myself. Like in undergrad, I was always going, and that's how I like to be. I like to be busy. And so for me, kind of being alone and like having that like alone time with my thoughts was, I mean, it was scary, and I think it's a lot of hard work to focus on yourself mentally like that. But I think, yeah, being like in this process, I think I've realized like, hey, no, like you can do this. Like you have that time for yourself, and you're gonna thrive because of it as much as you can.
Absolutely. So stemming from, or rather piggybacking from some of what you all just said, if there was something that you could pass on to the university administration, to university faculty, pertaining to what it's been like to be a graduate student starting a Ph.D. program in the middle of a pandemic, what would you tell administration and faculty? And to give you an example of that, like one thing that I would tell, and this is coming from somebody that's already been in the program for some time, but one thing that I would say to them is just a little bit of time for some type of debriefing or mental health check-in in all classes. That would be a little tidbit that if, I was in front of them, that's what I would tell them. And that's something that I've learned has been important. And I have seen it, I've seen some faculty incorporate that, and it brings students together and acknowledges that we're all going through something. So I share that just to give you an idea of what that could be, but that could be anything big or small. And the reason why I incorporate this question into the conversation that we're having is, again, to destigmatize mental health within academia and expand the conversation of mental health to more than just graduate students that are feeling overloaded and burned out. We really want to get faculty and administrators' attention on this topic, and we want them to also acknowledge that it is important. And above that, we want to give them tips on what they could also do on their end to acknowledge the experience that we're going through and that you all are going through as new incoming graduates.
Sorry, Amanda, were you about to go?
No, you can, it doesn't matter. I can go, you can go, whatever.
Well, the thing for me is this isn't as much like, this is more of like a personal thing, I guess, or an individual thing, but sometimes I wish I could tell my professors, like, I promise I'm usually smarter than this, or I promise I have more to say, or I promise I'm more interested in this topic than I seem. But, when you're not in the classroom and when you're not, there's something about when you're face to face with your professor, there's like more accountability versus when you're on Zoom and you're just drained. And, for the last 6 months, we haven't really been using our brains the way that we're used to, especially as people. If you have made it to grad school, you probably were very studious in undergrad. This is stuff you care a lot about. You enjoy having your brain like on a lot. So kind of having your brain off for a long period of time, or just being very lazy, or sleeping way more, or being more feeling more lethargic. I definitely feel, to put it in the simplest way, like more like stupid sometimes. I feel definitely like my intelligence has gone down, like I'm not as fast thinking, I'm not as alert, and it's really kind of tanked my self-esteem in terms of like being in the classroom, because I don't feel as adequate anymore, I guess. And so I think one thing so far my professors have been doing a great job of, giving positive feedback and, making me feel like you're doing okay. Like you're doing, like, it's fine. Like you don't have to like do a lot to prove yourself right now. But I guess moving forward, yeah, just more of that, and more, kind of reassurance, more, I guess like those intimate interactions between you and a professor, where you can actually, get a sense of like, oh, this is what they think I'm good at, and this is what I should keep doing. This is what they think I should work on. It's definitely really beneficial.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And that is such a good point that, I mean, to be completely frank, that's something that I take for granted, right? Because I have been face-to-face with some instructors for years past. So even though I'm also on Zoom currently, there's already an established baseline with professors where you maybe have a little bit more, where I can maybe more easily say like, hey, I was just on 3 Zoom calls and now this is my 4th one, give me a chance. And, with what you were saying, like you haven't gotten as much exposure or any exposure with some professors face to face, where you build that rapport, where you feel more comfortable even saying something like that, or where they already know your dynamic, and without being in the classroom. It's kind of like entering a gym where you're like, all right, I'm at the gym, time to work out. Like you enter a classroom and you're like, oh, on, and without having that, not only are you taking new classes, new people, new program, you're not even in a classroom. So that is, thank you for, I know that will resonate with anybody that's starting a program amidst this. So that was really important. Thank you.
Especially if you like relax in your room or living room, your brain is like right now I'm sitting in this room, I'm like in relaxation mode,
Right.
Because that's what your brain has been trained to see that area as. So it's really hard to suddenly get into like academic mode. But yeah, like you said about I really like the gym comparison. It's so you do get conditioned by the spaces you're in to get in a certain mindset, and when that isn't there, it's like, oh, I have to make myself switch over. So
yeah, Lena, thank you for bringing that up, and that's something that I was gonna say too, along with what you said, and then G, what you said also. Just continue listening to students and just checking in and make sure that we're doing okay. Because this is it's a really uncertain time, and especially for people who like we're not in North Carolina at all, and you're trying to make the move to a new place and not knowing anybody, and then trying to have these virtual interactions that can seem like just like you're very distant from people. And so just really listening and taking into account students' experiences and how they're feeling, and things like that. And also too, I think if there was a way to maybe facilitate some more, I don't know, like group Zoom calls or things like that, just with, say, like older people in the program, just for us, like first years coming in, to talk to, and just for someone who has been in our position, not entirely since they didn't start like under these circumstances, but who's been a first year student, just to say like, hey, it's okay. Like, you're going to be okay. Yes, it's going to be tough. Yes, there's a lot going on. But you can handle it, and you're here for a reason. And so I think having those like interactions would also be really helpful.
That's a good point. And I appreciate that subtle call to action for people like myself that, I maybe could have made a greater attempt to reach out earlier on. And that is a solid reminder that that's something that I need to do and I need to encourage other older grad students to do, because we'll get through it together easier if we do it as a community.
Oh, you can go ahead, Brandon.
Go for it.
Are you sure? Okay. Yeah, like I think like Lena and Amanda were saying, like just keep in mind like we're in a pandemic right now, and that's like traumatic for like a lot of people for different reasons. So like, yeah, I might it might people sometimes teachers might think it's easier to do homework and focus and stuff, but when you're like stressing about the fact that what if I go outside and I get exposed or something like that and bring it to a family member, or like, for instance, my great grandma and my great aunt have COVID right now, and and you're just worried about them. Or when I was sick, and I was like, is it just sickness or do I have COVID? And sometimes it's hard to focus with those type of things. And then even in like discussions and whatnot, sometimes you want to get in a conversation, but it's like you have no body language to get feedback from. All you have is like people's faces, and like sometimes you can easily like misinterpret what that means and whatnot. And like Lena was saying, it's just hard to get into that mode at times, or sometimes you just forget because like 30 minutes before I was watching Netflix. Whereas if I'm walking on campus, I'm getting into that transition, that mindset. So yeah, I would just keep that in mind and be like, hold off on first impressions if it's possible until we're all back on campus and we can participate like normal.
That's such a solid and tangible tip of like a reminder for not just for faculty and administration, but for everyone that hasn't yet met in person to hold off on first impressions, hold off on how we come off when we're, this big on a flat screen. So thank you, Dominique. That was a tangible thing that we can all do.
Oh, you're welcome.
I don't have anything specific, but I think I'd like to emphasize the importance of a fully funded and supported counseling center. Like Dom was just saying, we are living through a traumatic event. There's an entire iteration of NC State students that are experiencing a trauma right now. They need a place to, I guess, process those challenges. If there's any way that we could expand services or do something more for the students, I think it would be something to not only look into, but make a concrete plan of action towards.
To how we're going to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with you on that. I have seen the counseling center become overloaded and you need to get in, but there's a 3-4 week wait because, the ratios aren't right on the number of people that really need to get in there and the staffing that's there sometimes due to budget, budget and also, maybe lack of attention from those higher up. So thank you for emphasizing that.
And I just wanted to add one more thing. Like you said, like with the freshmen, I really want the university to just really focus on safety policies because, like, for instance, I remember like I had to do my I-9 papers. Apparently, I missed the window to do a virtual session, and they were like, "You have to come on campus." And I'm like, I don't want to come on campus. So I would really want them to focus on making sure that like when it comes to departments or like official university business, they have, opportunities to do it virtually like anytime, any day. 'Cause I would really like that because like when I got sick, I didn't know what I had because it was after, I was on campus. So I was really scared. So I think that would help. They've been kind of good at it, but there is still some room for progress.
And that room for progress, if we get there, I think it ultimately keeps all of us safe because we don't know who has it, who doesn't. And, if we can, anywhere that we can minimize risk is better for everyone. And somebody said this earlier, that then we will get out of it. We thought we were supposed to be out of it months ago, but if we handle those things where we can with something as easy as maybe being flexible on windows like that, offering more virtual sessions for whatever it may be, then we all stay safer. All right, guys, thank you so much. I want to end on a positive note. So what is the silver lining to this experience? And I'm going to give you a minute or two to think about it, because maybe it's not the first thing that comes to mind, but what is something positive, something that you take away from this and you're like, you know what, that was valuable, like that felt good. Anything that been a silver lining to the graduate experience. Go ahead, Dominique.
I realized, like, especially being in a generation where, like, we're kind of, like, raised with social media and stuff like that, and I think it was kind of like what Brandon was saying with the introvert thing. I realized, like, I really do need people. Like, I need that interaction. I need to be around people. Like, I can't be on my phone forever. Especially with all the protests and stuff like that, social media has just kind of become kind of a negative place for me. So I can't always be on it. And I'm realizing, like, I need to talk to people. I need to be with family. I need to check in to see if they're healthy. So it really made me realize how important family and friends and how important they are in my life. And then with this pandemic, it really made me realize, like, anything can happen, and it's important to be in a good standing with, like, relationships and whatnot, because sometimes you never know. So I really made me realize I need to work on my personal relationships more, and I'm still working on it, 'cause I'm not perfect. I don't be talking to people for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's what I learned from it.
that's super worthwhile. Like, it's difficult to top that sort of experience, because working on those social relationships will be something that will benefit you, not only right now through the program, but in the future. And the other part of that is that I bet it'll benefit the person on the receiving end of that communication also.
Yep.
I'm really glad you brought up, like, developing personal relationships, because that kind of made me, I didn't realize it until right now when we started talking about it, but I think one thing I always heard people talking about when you start grad school, is like, your relationships are really going to suffer, like, you're not going to see anyone anymore, stuff like that. And even my professors in undergrad, when they were giving me advice about when they started grad school, one of them told me that he got married and then moved with his wife to the grad program, and they, like, so he was starting the grad program while also having just started being married, and he said it had a really harsh effect on the marriage. And there were times even when his wife would be like, why did we even get married if, like, I literally just don't see you anymore, like, you're always working, you need to make time for this. And he's like, I just didn't know how, because it's so much. But I think one thing that's been kind of like a blessing in the middle of all this has been not having to go to campus and be on campus and be at campus events has definitely given me more time, like, just the ability to spend even more quality time with my family, or the people that I am able to see during the pandemic, like the people I'm either quarantined with, or the only other person I've really been seeing, like, is my partner, like my boyfriend. And being able to, like, oh, I'm starting grad school, but I'm lucky enough to have all this extra time because I'm not on campus and driving back and forth and doing stuff on campus, to actually, like, finish my work for the day and then have even more hours to sit and spend quality time with my partner, or go get takeout with my mom and have, like, a movie night or something. And it's definitely made me feel a bit more like, look, my relationships don't have to suffer. And now whenever things do, hopefully go back to normal and we're on campus and there is, it's a bit more, I guess, stressful, or there's more happening, because I'm putting those systems in place from now, I'm going to be able to keep them. Like, even when I start going to campus, it's like, well, I'm not going to sacrifice that time with my partner. That is very important. I'm not going to sacrifice that time with my mom or my brother or my dog. That's really important. So it's given me a lot more, it's helped me prioritize things more, because definitely in undergrad, I let a lot of relationships suffer. There'd be, like, weeks I just wouldn't talk to my mom, and that, that's not cool. Even with my romantic relationships and friendships, a lot of things there was a lot of drifting apart in many areas. So kind of being able to give more time and energy to that has really been a big like lesson for me.
Yeah. That's incredibly valuable. Just, being forced into prioritize time and, hone in on your time management skills and where you want to spend that time will become even more important as the program progresses too.
Brandon, you can go.
Nope, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, Lena and Dominique, going off of what y'all were saying, I think that's something that I found valuable too, is that this is a really good opportunity to check in on the people that are closest to you, and really you kind of have to be creative with, how you're making sure those connections stay prominent in your lives, whether that's over Zoom, FaceTime, whatever is socially distanced hangouts, whatever. You really just kind of have to be creative to make sure, like, okay, the people in your life, they know that you love them and that you care about them, and that you're still fulfilling those relationships. And also too, I think this time is also a really good opportunity just to learn more about yourself. And we talked about that earlier. That was one of the questions, but it really does give you that alone time, which I think is, for me, it's been really beneficial. And these are skills that not only I'm going to continue using now, but that I'll continue using throughout the rest of my time in the graduate program, of like what environments or what situations like help me feel the most productive, or what helps me thrive the most as a student. And like, when do I need breaks? When do I feel like I'm on and I'm ready to write or read or whatever? And so I think, just like having the opportunity to really focus on myself in that way has been really beneficial for me.
That resonates a lot. It's like the conditions have forced us to listen to ourselves, both what we need mentally, physically. I like what you said of like knowing when you're on, like taking advantage of those, like, all right, like I know that I can sit down and write right now, or I know that I can power through that article right now, and being sensitive to the cues that sometimes go unnoticed when there's so much else going on. Brandon, what about you?
I think silver lining is I feel more, I guess, pressure to like engage in physical activity. So I've started running more. I've started playing basketball. I'm terrible at both, but like it's still doing more than I did before. And I think establishing that as part of my routine is something that will stick with me.
I grew up playing basketball, so if ever you want to play basketball one day when we are allowed to get together and not be 6 feet apart, that would be great. Well, thank you all for this conversation. It has been really valuable to hear your experiences. I can honestly say I've learned a lot, and it has only reinforced my personal drive to keep the mental health conversation going at various levels. I think we have a lot to learn from one another and how we've all been experiencing the pandemic, because the pandemic experience has not been one singular experience. We have all been experiencing it differently because of who we are as people, because of our, set of circumstances. So engaging in that discussion teaches us a lot, and we continue growing and learning. Any closing thoughts that you all might want to share before we close?
Be kind to yourself. I think it's a big one. It sounds corny whenever people talk about positive self-talk. I'd be like, I'm really gonna sit here and be like, you're great, you're awesome. But and it might seem like that, but just those moments when you catch yourself being like, I could have worked harder today. I could have, say to yourself, I didn't get a lot of work done today. That's fine. I can do that tomorrow. But I rested today, and that was what I needed, and that's fine. Or, oh, I procrastinated today. Oops. let me think of what I can do tomorrow to avoid that. Just be gentle in the way you talk to yourself. It makes a huge difference. And it's an adjustment. You have to kind of train yourself, but it makes a huge difference. Just don't underestimate talking to yourself kindly and rest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'd just like to add, prioritize your own safety. Stay safe out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also too, G, like you were just saying, just keep the conversation going about mental health, and don't be afraid to bring conversations like these up to your peers, because I mean, I guarantee it that they're probably going through similar things, if not the same things as you, and feeling the same type of things. And so, just making these conversations more normalized, I think, is just a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that, I mean, honestly, that's one of the driving motivations behind making this video series, is to say, hey, like, we're grad students too. We're experiencing this also. We can have a conversation about it and still be high functioning, incredibly intelligent grad students. The mental health conversation should never take away from that. And sometimes there's this myth that if we talk about our anxieties, our stressors, our depression, whatever we have going on, that, you're less than, which is not true. It's not true. So thank you for bringing that up. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah. What's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, it's okay to have goals, but also manage your expectations. So, like everybody was saying, be kind to yourself, and you can have goals, but also be honest with yourself that, in this pandemic, we're not all functioning the way we want to. So, just, I guess, just have goals, but just, don't put too much pressure on yourself to fulfill all of them 100% or 110%.
That's a good point, because again, we start school and we think we have to be on all the time. But, like we said earlier, we're all grieving different things. And even if that's not grieving a loved one, there is still grief, and that grief is a cognitive load on what we can accomplish. So there's really no way to say that we can accomplish 100% and function at 100% during pandemic times just the same as non-pandemic times. I don't think that's accurate. I've yet to see the evidence for that. So reevaluating, like you were saying, Dominique, our goals, our expectations, and celebrating the little victories, which I think goes back, Lena, to what you said of, maybe all I did today was read this one article. Well, hey, I read the article, like, we need to reconsider what we're proud of. And I think I'm proud of all of you for starting a program under these circumstances. I really mean that, because it's talk about needing to feel grounded. And even though we can say, all right, I have classes to go to, but there's still a lot of ungroundedness amidst all this. So I really mean that to everybody that had this conversation to me, and also every graduate student starting a program right now. Like, that is a brave and honorable thing to do. But thank you, everybody, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.